when it was over, he, cleaned himself up and put his jacket back on.
Yeah, that was weird.
Night Court apparently had quite the revolving door on their cast.
Night Court is a laid-back approach to justice.
Night Court was an interesting flashback to the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, a podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to. We are doing 80s sitcom month. This is the final episode of 80s sitcom month, and we are doing 1984's Night Court. First episode entitled All You Need Is Love. Our special guest co-host who hangs out and makes us look smart, Dr. Muhammad Noor.
Hello, always a pleasure to be on Fallingtower's Watch the First of Things.
And if you don't know him, he's the Dean of Arts and Sciences at Duke University, also occasional science advisor for Star Trek, and, smart guy. We also have a very special guest, of course. Actress Kat Geren is here.
Hello, Dean of myself.
It's so awesome to have you back. My name is Ryan T. Husk. I am none of those things, actually. Not an actress. I'm not a dean, and I'm not a science advisor.
You're an awesome actor, host, producer, everything else.
I'm a sports fan.
Yes.
that's me.
Avid sports fan.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's get started. Let's have some fun and talk about Night Court. Dr. Noor, where do we go from here? I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do either. I feel like we're in a predicament. Oh.
So, we like to predict if the other person liked it. Michael and I have known each other for over 20 years. Muhammad and I have known each other for way less than that, but it still works. Maybe 6 years or something like that, or 4. I don't know.
Actually 3, but it feels like we've known each other.
One of those numbers.
That's good.
Kat and I have known each other actually for quite some time, right? I'd say 7 to 10 years, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. And
Muhammad and Kat have known each other for 7 to 10 minutes. So let's make some predictions. But they spoke. They got a good feel for one another.
That's been on the show. I've gotten to see her. So,
mm-hmm. So let's see, Muhammad. I think you're lukewarm on this. I think you liked this show. I think it was fun-ish for you, and you're going to be wandering and meandering around the 6 range. Kat, I think you're about the same, but I think you're going to be a little bit less nostalgic for the 80s and more like, what is this crap? So you're going to be right around a 5-ish, but you still will have enjoyed some of it, I think. But those are my predictions. Dr. Noor, what do you predict?
It's a good question. So I actually predict for thank you. I predict for both of you actually similarly. I think both of you are going to be like, this is very dated. So I'm guessing that both of y'all are going to come in the 5 range. I think you're going to be. I think you'll appreciate what it was, and for the time it may have been interesting, but I think you'll feel it's very just dated now in terms of the humor, the style, the whole thing. That's my guess. Kat.
Well, I think first of all, knowing Ryan, I think he did not like this. I think Ryan likes the 80s. I know he likes the 80s throwback, but more of the cartoon, science fiction, those types of things. This I'm not so sure about. I think it's in like the 2 range. And Muhammad, I think you liked it. I think it was a nice throwback and you enjoyed it. The smart humor. So I would say like 5.56.
Fair prediction.
Interesting. Everybody at home, we learned a little bit about all of us here. That was pretty fun. So everybody at home, it's time for you to make your predictions. You got some hints, although they may have led you astray.
Kat did say smart humor.
Yes, she did, which I found to be a compliment. But she also said, the things like dated and the 80s suck. She was thinking it. So everybody at home, make your predictions in the live chat or in the comments below. Do you think I liked it? Do you think Muhammad liked it? Do you think Kat liked it? And take your time, really think about it, type it out. And while you're doing that, Dr. Noor here is going to buy you a little bit of time by telling us all what this show is even about.
I will. Thank you. So in this pilot episode, the attorneys and clerks struggle to get used to new Judge Harry Stone's different and more laid-back approach to being a judge. In his first days in court, Harry tries to get a very angry, fighting couple to reconcile. His first attempt fails pretty terribly, leaving the attorneys injured and disheveled. However, Harry perseveres and eventually gets the couple to see they still love each other. Court clerk Lana's impression of Harry changes dramatically, and she finds herself suddenly excited to work with him.
Excellent recap.
Yeah, there was a
excellent
change.
There was definitely a change.
All right. Well, now we're going to compare and contrast what we expected versus what we got, right, Muhammad?
Well, indeed. I feel like we have an expect-getchen, where what did we expect? And we'll spend a little bit of time on that. And what did we getchen? We'll spend a lot of time on that.
Muhammad also practices Tai Bo. Some of you don't know that. Everybody listening is because he made punching, motions. I don't know if he actually does Tai Bo or not. Probably Tai Chi. Yeah, definitely Tai Chi. Kickboxing. So,
fistboxing.
Muhammad, before you watch this first episode of Night Court entitled All You Need Is Love, what did you expect, if anything?
It's a good question. So I did watch, thank you. I did watch this show back in the 80s a little bit. It wasn't something I watched just regularly as episodes came out, but it's one of those things, if I stumbled across it, I would watch it. And I remember being entertained by it. I don't think I've seen anything from it pretty much since then, aside from like the little tiny clips that sometimes show up on social media with, say, like, oh, look, Brent Spiner was in Night Court. They had the little clip with him with the awful little skit he did back then. So, besides that, well, I mean, just in the sense that it wasn't that the acting was awful, but just the character he was portraying was kind of awful. Beyond that, I didn't really have any expectations. I haven't seen it since then. I was actually kind of excited to go back and check it out and for the fresh 2022 perspective and see how well it held up. Definitely have a lot of thoughts to share to that.
Actually airing in 2025, so so pretend it's 2025. Kat, what did you expect, if anything? Had you ever even seen or heard of this show?
I had never seen it. I was not born. I had never heard of it. I did not know it existed. But when I saw on Amazon Prime and I saw the little description, it said, it talked about the show, what it was about like a zany courtroom antics and stuff like that. And that it was, I think, either Emmy winning or Emmy nominated. So I was like, oh, this is going to be good. It's going to be like Cheers, or this is going to be like, something that's kind of iconic. That's what I was expecting, like something that was really going to stand out and iconic sitcom humor.
God, Kat is such a pro.
Humor. Yeah,
so you see how she didn't even, she tickled on the line, but never took one step over into what she actually got. She just specifically was very cognizant of the fact that she's like, I'm not giving anything away here, guys.
She's got screenwriter talent.
I had high expectations.
Oh, So I'll tell you what I expected. This show ran 9 seasons all the way to, I believe, 92. Maybe that means the first season was just a half season because that's only 8 years. So, and I had seen some of the later years when I was a kid. I remember when I was a kid, myself and a couple friends of mine liked watching Night Court and then going to school the next day and talking about the funny moments, and kids probably liked Bull because
I liked Bull.
He was kind of the guy. So I had maybe seen anywhere between 5 and 25 episodes. I really don't know, because who remembers anything about their childhood except for playing in dirt and stuff? So getting into trouble. But I was very aware of it. And I remember liking it. And I do know the song very well. Like, I knew the theme song very well. It's an iconic theme song. It's fun to play, you know. Anyway, on a radio, fun to play.
Did you play on an
or
instrument?
On an instrument? Yes.
Huh?
Yeah. The bass line's a little tough. I'm not a.
Did you actually play it on an instrument?
Yeah, but I don't think I ever played it on the bass. I remember our buddy Michael Kenyon Rosenberg and his brother, and I think his brother's bandmate, did jam out to it like full band style, or like did something. I do remember hanging out one time when they did that, and it was fun. You know, it's just like a little fun thing to jam to.
Man, I wish we could have had a reenactment of you guys playing the song
someday.
We could hum it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, download it on your favorite MP3 player or whatever those things are. Anyway, so that's what I expected. I expected to like it quite a bit, because I remember it being pretty popular, you know, in the later years. You know, who knows how it started. A lot of these shows don't start off well, but then they have a much longer leash than shows do nowadays. It's common to have shows from the 70s, 80s, and 90s be terrible for like the first 3 seasons. They stayed on the air, and then they eventually figured it out and got good. Nowadays, that doesn't happen. Anyway, that's what we expected. Dr. Noor, what did you actually get?
My first most striking impression was that 80s hair. I was like, oh my God, that 80s hair. It actually inspired me to go look up my high school yearbook and pull, let me turn off the virtual background to show that it actually, that is correct for the time. There we go. Look at all the people with the 80s hair then.
Oh, rocking out. Yes.
Wait, but I don't see you in there.
I'm in there.
Yeah, where are you?
I'm there. Bottom right, I think.
Oh my God.
I don't have a beard, obviously. Yeah, I know, right?
I don't even recognize you.
Oh my God.
No, I mean, it's not hard to recognize there. But
totally
yeah, it wasn't the fun reminiscence I hoped it would be beyond that. I confess I found it weirdly like zany, but not humorous zany. So, you know, Kat used a great example of the era. So Cheers, when you think of Cheers, or other shows we've discussed recently, like Family Ties, there would sometimes be kind of zany characters, but they weren't just like ridiculous, right? And even shows that are really good that have ridiculous characters, it still feels a little bit realistic. You know, think, say, Big Bang Theory. Anyway, those are kind of extreme characters. They feel a little bit realistic. Judge Harry Stone there, it just felt like, who is this crazy man? What is he doing? I found it hard getting into him. I did enjoy seeing Bulligan, because, like Ryan said, I remember that was a character I liked a lot as a kid, and seeing him talking about mercurial and minimephidian and all these different words he tossed out there. That was fun. I remember liking him. Dan Fielding had some interesting lines. So there were a couple of interesting lines here and there, but overall, I found myself really not liking the judge. I mean, it just felt ridiculous, and the plot there in the beginning with them not realizing he was the judge, it just felt so obvious, so transparent. And the fact that he was just running with it for that long felt just almost tedious by the end to me. I liked the plot with the couple. I thought that was an interesting plot. The ripped up shirts was a little silly, but it was okay. But the thing that turned me off at the very end was the about face for Lana. Like, it just seemed insane that she would just suddenly be like, "Oh, now I want to be, I want to work for you. I'm so excited," when I hated you so much just up until a few minutes ago. So, yeah, I had a hard time getting into it, as you can tell. Anyway, I'll stop there. We can go into more detail after Kat and Ryan speak.
Sounds like somebody's being a little judgy.
Well done.
Well, I had time to think about it. I kind of
you're better than the show.
First, I was going to say judgmental, but I was like, no, because that's too far away from the root of judge. Let's just use judgy. Anyway, thanks for buying me time there. Kat, what did you actually get upon viewing this?
I got one of the worst things I've ever seen. That my eyeballs and my ears had to be accosted by this. It was quite honestly, yeah. It was. I can't. Like it was. It was so the pacing. I think more than anything is like what threw me off. It was like it was so odd, and I get that I don't even know if they had like multicam back then. I'm assuming they did when they filmed this. But it's very standard, of course, the sitcoms to be filmed on a stage, and so perhaps it was filmed in front of a live audience. So it felt almost like very stage like the actors were like pausing so much, and the '90s sitcoms I feel like got the pacing down a lot better in terms of working with an audience. But it was so strange how they all delivered their lines. It was like so slow, and that was just the worst part. But then the characters were, like Mohammed said, so unrealistic. They're like there's no grounding in reality whatsoever. Like none of these people exist in reality. None of them. I thought the most realistic character was the hooker. Like she was the most realistic character. But it was like like what was their relationships to each other? Like it was so strange. It was so strange. Yes, I have so much to say, but Ryan, you can go.
Well, I'll tell you what I got.
I was gonna come and be like, "This was the best show ever."
No, but one of them. This was one of the best shows we have seen out of 100. No, it wasn't very good at all. And I'm sorry. I wanted to like it and I expected to like it, but the problem was that it wasn't good. In almost every way, it was subpar. It was in a lot of ways, it was confusingly bad. Like where I was confused, like how did this pass? Like how did the script pass a producer's desk? How did the acting pass that first take? I can't really blame the actors too much, but it was mostly the writing. Like it just, I didn't understand it. And I kept finding myself lowering the number, going like, oh, it's getting, and yeah, let's just move on to that ending part. Let's just skip to the end.
Yeah.
I was also so confused by whatever her name was, Marjorie, Lana's turnaround. Not only was I confused by why she turned around, I was confused at her delivery of the turnaround. I was confused as to how it was a joke, because she would say a line and the audience would laugh, and I'd be like, I don't understand why that's funny. And it's not just that I got the joke, but I didn't think the joke was funny. I'm like, I don't understand what is supposed to be funny here or why it's supposed to be funny. So I watched it like 3 times because I'm like, I need to figure this out. And I didn't figure it out after 3 times. I was like, I got to just go to bed. I got to move on with my life.
I agree. I was so confused, and she was like yelling it. Her delivery was like she yelled it, and it was so like, did she mean to yell it? I was so like, is she now confessing her love to him? I was very confused.
Like that.
It did seem like that. She said something like, "It's an honor to call you Harry," or something like that. It was a weird line.
Yeah,
it would be an honor to call you Harry. And even the delivery made me think like maybe she didn't really know what the line meant either, like the rest of us. But the director was like, just give me all you got. She's like, okay, but I don't understand what I'm really saying here, but okay.
Yeah. So she just yelled it.
Yeah. Do you guys catch, there was an earlier spot too where she was telling Harry, this is before the flip, where she said, you're crazy, but she was laughing as she was saying it. And I was like, wait, was that unintentional? Did she just think it was a funny line? Because it didn't go with what she was doing. I mean, it seemed like she should have been really upset, but she was laughing and she said, you're crazy. Like,
I feel like that was kind of a lot with her character. Like she was all over the place. Like, did she really love her job? And she didn't really seem like it. She seemed very aloof, but she seemed to care, but she didn't. And I was just like, who is this person? Like, she seems like she needs to be mentally hospitalized.
Yeah.
I know she's not in the picture behind you, Ryan.
Yeah, I gave up on trying to find a background picture for season 1, episode 1. She's not in any of these. They don't have, for some reason, maybe they're just trying to forget this first season, which is a good idea. Because when I remember watching it, it had Mac.
Yep.
And it had Roz.
Yep.
And it had whatever Marky Post's character was. I just remember it saying Marky Post. I was like, oh, that's an interesting name. Maybe Christine, I think. Okay. But then the only 3 characters that stayed were these 3, but then they had these guys replacing them. And Mac was extremely charming and relaxed and charismatic, and he delivered lines as if they were just coming out of his mouth, not like he was reading somebody else's lines. Roz was wonderful. She was replacing this old lady, and then Marky Poe's character was fine. She basically took over the character type that Lana was, even though she took over the attorney person. You know what I'm saying? So she replaced a different person, but she had that character type. She was definitely that type. But anyway, so I remember it being a very fun and enjoyable show. Everybody loved Bull. John Larroquette was like the shocker, like the standout guy. Like he really became very funny and likable. And by the way, everybody, yes, that is John Larroquette, who has played in, he was a Klingon in a Star Trek movie, if I remember correctly. Everybody knows. Right. So I think maybe the least likable character, later years was Harry. He was fine. He always did a lot of magic tricks. I remember him doing magic tricks. But in this episode, oh my God, like he was not likable at all. Like you can make him, Mom's giving thumbs down. You can make him obnoxious. You can make him weird. You can make him aloof. You can make him zany. You can do all these things, but you still have to make him likable. And I wonder if that was maybe the poor choice in actors. Maybe he couldn't pull it off, but there was nothing that was likable about that character. And I'll just finish on this one thought. I found the show to be soft obnoxious, like not fully obnoxious because people weren't yelling constantly, but I found especially the character, and it was just a soft obnoxious where I was like, it wasn't like fully rotten food, but it's turning,
For sure.
I agree with Kevin. I thought the funniest line was the one delivered by the hooker, where Harry told her, "It's your lucky day," and she's like, "Could be yours too." That was the best line.
I agree with you there. That was the funniest line for me, but it wasn't even. I mean, the line was pretty funny.
Yeah,
but the delivery is what made it funnier. I thought that,
and
that was the best actress of the bunch, and she had 2 lines.
That's why I liked her. She was like the most grounded and realistic. Like Harry, to me, was like, he doesn't even seem intelligent. It's like you have to be pretty intelligent to make it to that level of education to be a judge, whether you're like an idiot in your personal life or not. You still have to have some sort of higher intelligence, and it just seemed like he was dumb. Like I don't know. It just,
it's ridiculous.
I don't know. It felt like there was like literally one writer. Like it was like one writer writing the entire script, and he was just like,
and nobody was checking him.
No one was checking him, and he's like, "Oh, I have the best idea. Okay, that's great. That's great." And like no one was giving feedback, and they were like, "Here you go, ready,
done, go."
Mm-hmm.
I love that description.
I think, and I could be wrong, but I think the actor Harry Anderson, who plays Harry T. Stone, I think he's a comedian, or he was a comedian, So that may be why he got the role more so than like some guy audition, So he might have the Jerry Seinfeld, issue, or the, Everybody Loves Raymond issue, or whatever, where the lead is a stand-up comedian who doesn't really act so much, but the writer or the producer thinks, okay, this is my guy. He's a comedian. He's funny. I like him. He's perfect. But then the comedian doesn't really know, how. Actually, he was in Cheers too. He was in a couple episodes of Cheers, playing the same kind of shtick where he walks in and, He's like, hey, look at how cool I am. Oh, you got a carrot behind your ear or whatever.
That'd be a tough one to pull out of your hand, a carrot.
But those shows like Seinfeld work because the writing, it's like you don't mind that Jerry's kind of stiff. I mean, that's just like who he is as a character. And you kind of look past the fact that, George and Elaine are better actors because it's the writing. The writing is phenomenal. Like the writing here, it was just like, I almost like want to see the script. I feel like, was it like 3 pages long? Like it was, there was like nothing happened.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And they also, it was basically one shtick. It was 5 characters saying, hey, this one character is weird and we need to adjust. It would have added something if one of the 5 characters not just was different from one another, but had a different reaction to him or something. So so they weren't just like this one homogenous group of people that were all reacting to him. If like, for example, whatever the other defense attorney, whatever her name was, Sheila. What if she was like, oh, I think he's dreamy. And they're like, what? He's an idiot. He's ugly. He's stupid. And there's comedy that can be had there. Or what if she's even weirder than him? So she's the weirdo of the bunch. And so she goes, oh, I like him or something like that. These kind of things could give you something. But I felt like it was a one-trick pony.
I did mildly laugh at Dan Fielding's comment where somebody said it's impossible to remove a sitting judge, and he says we have to kill him. I did mildly laugh at that, like, oh, that was funny. Okay.
The Dan Fielding line the Dan Fielding line that made me laugh was not because of the writing, but because of the delivery. When he walks up to him, he says, Your Honor, and Harry goes, hi, all obnoxiously, and Dan goes, hi. Like the line's not funny, but he delivered it like what we're all thinking. Like, what do you want? What's going on here?
Right.
That made it funny, I guess.
Right. I was also confused in the very beginning. It felt like they all knew each other, but then they didn't. It was like they were so comfortable around this supposed stranger. And then they're like, oh my God, you're the judge. Like they were so shocked. And I was like, he's been sitting here for like
hanging out.
Yeah. That gag went way too long. I was like, oh, okay, this is very obvious what's happening here.
Yeah, it was so obvious. Like everything was so obvious. And I mean, was that a thing in the 80s? Like was this humor like really popular? This kind of like over the top obvious humor?
Sometimes.
Yeah, occasionally.
Over the top certainly was slapstick, I think. But I think it was one of these concept things where it's like the guy's like, okay, night court, right? And you have Harry Anderson, he's a great stand-up comedian and he's a magician. And he's going to come in and they're all, what the heck? It's a 30-year-old judge. What's going on? And they're all, and so like there's this concept and they start describing the characters. So I think from there, maybe it just got the green light because of concept or something, because that script I think was a little rough. Was very
interesting.
Rough.
They didn't emphasize the night court aspect to it. It wasn't they like, well, this would never happen in day court or whatever. There was no reference to the night aspect. Like, why is this night court specifically?
Why? Yeah, the only reference to it is I saw the camera pan by the window and saw that it was, you could see the lights from the buildings, and I was like, oh, okay, it's night. But I was
like, the voyeurism too, which also went on way too long.
Exactly. But I was like, this is the night court. Like this is risque. Like,
well, Kat, were there any moments that actually made you laugh or that you thought were funny, even though you didn't make an audible sound?
No.
Boy, I had to think hard on that one.
No, I thought that the actress delivering her prostitute lines did the best job. And I was like, okay, okay, that was an attempt at being funny that I could see landing somewhere, but it did not make me physically laugh. Maybe made my mind slightly chuckle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the what her line was when he said, it's your lucky day, and she says, it could be yours too. It was when she dragged out on the two. I was like, oh, somebody sign her up. There's an actor there.
Well, and also I think she had another line where she said, I don't know. She was like, oh, well, it is work or something like that.
Oh, it's a living.
Yeah,
that's an 80s saying. I feel like I used to hear that in cartoons. It's a living.
Oh, okay.
What about you, Muhammad? Did you laugh? You laughed.
I think just the one line. I'm looking at all the ones. I put little ha notes. I like the Mercurial Minimophidian, but I didn't laugh. I was just kind of okay. Maybe I should look up Minimophidian. Yeah.
What does Minimophidian mean?
Exhibiting the smallest degree of faith. I looked it up.
Oh, minima and then Phidian. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, extravasate, I'm guessing, means poop, because he says, does a bear extravasate in the forest? I'm like, okay, that's got to be poop.
Yeah, the we have to kill him a little bit. The weirdness about the you're crazy. I was kind of like, huh, what is that? So that made me pause and think it was funny just because she messed up, not because the line was funny. and it could be yours too. But those are the only ones I wrote down as funny lines. Yeah, that was it.
So it looks like extravasate is more peeing. Okay. It says to flow out from the vessel that naturally contains it into the surrounding. So that's a very loose way of saying peeing in the woods.
I have lots of question mark lines. Like there was a thing where Dan came back and said, I loved my shirt because it was all ripped up. It was very odd to imagine how it would have ripped quite the way it was ripped. I was looking at
I agree. How did the shirt get ripped and the jacket was still like, did he take off his jacket to wrestle with them and they ripped his shirt? And then when it was over, he, cleaned himself up and put his jacket back on.
Yeah, that was weird. The other thing which caught me. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, but the arm was gone.
Yeah, it was very odd. The other thing which was the comment, of course, it's a geneticist that picked up on this one, the comment about the chromosomes aren't normal. Like, what? You're saying they have Downs? That's kind of, I didn't understand what that meant. So that was another one that had a question mark. And there was just a general, why are they hanging out? I remember at the very end when the judge was just sitting there in the courtroom, like, why would you be sitting in there? Like, go to your office. You have an office. Why are you sitting in this weird public room and just
everybody's gone. It's clearly over.
Yeah.
Why are you still there? You're waiting for the janitor to kick you out. And she's like, hey guys, they're cleaning up. We really have to go. And he's like, okay, maybe that's what it was. Maybe he was just reveling in his first day, just being like, I don't want to go home. I want to soak up this moment. But I thought the same thing. I'm like, hey, dude, if it's over, you should be the first to go home. You're the judge.
Totally.
Right? Exactly. And before cell phones, was you just staring at the ceiling?
But not before Walkman. Remember, he had his Walkman on and he turned off his little...
Maybe he had a disc camera. He was take pictures with that. Do you remember those little disc cameras?
Oh, yeah.
I also thought it was an odd choice for him to hum to. Like, it was...
confusing.
Everything was just odd. Like, it was just strange.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to hear that it was popular and it got better because I was...
It certainly did get better. I'm thinking when I watched it was right around 1990. So that would have been season 7. So by then, if you don't have it after 7 seasons, I don't know what's going on. I'll tell you, there were a few things that either made me laugh or just that I thought was funny. You guys are going to disagree with me on this one, but when they finally find out that Harry is the judge and he blasts them with that snake gun, I thought that was funny because it was just visually funny. It was a sight gag because he's just shooting them right in the face and they're just standing there and they're just getting pummeled in the face. And he's going and then he points it over to Dan, and I see Dan trying to keep, stay in character and not laugh, but he's kind of like halfway quivering a little bit because he's just got this gun pelting him in the face. So I thought that was funny. I like to try to watch them, how they keep a straight face. And I thought it was
a cute gag. but it would have made me laugh if it wasn't for the timing. It was almost like they were all waiting for the audience to laugh. And so they were kind of like standing there and like waiting. This is the gag. Okay, now laugh. Ha 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 ha. And that's just, I was like, ooh. Cringe.
All right, everybody, this is the moment. Be on your marks. Watch this, guys.
Yeah.
So that was funny-ish. I feel like it was a little funnier at the beginning. Like there was a little bit. That's why I'm saying like my numbers kind of started dropping for it, and the numbers started off fairly high because of what I remembered. So I was very prejudiced with this, where I prejudged it and I expected something good, and then every time something good didn't happen, it kept lowering. Now, had I started at a more medium level, it probably would have dropped even lower. But Bull standing under the lights is kind of a funny little sight gag because he's just a funny looking fellow and he knows how to deliver being, funny. Bull reads the names off of both hands. Harry T. Stone. That's cute. That's taking it one step further. Reading it off his hands been done a million times, but then pulling the other one, I was like, okay, that's a nice little addition. Dan's high, I thought, elicited my only real chuckle, and along with the prostitute's delivery, those were the two very well delivered lines that made it funny. I think, the man in the bathrobe when he said, "Are oohs and ahs okay?" I'm like, okay, that's funny.
I forgot about that.
That's funny.
Again, maybe it's also being an actor and being so critical. It just, I liked it. And maybe it's like if they had more rehearsal or something, it just didn't feel natural. It felt like this guy had been practicing those lines 5,000 times. Yep. And then he stood up and he was like, wait, what do I, okay, our oohs and ahs.
Yes, this was more of a funny line on a script more so than a delivery. The other things were like not funny lines that the actors made funny. This, I don't think the actor made it any funnier. I think it was just funny on the page or clever.
Yeah.
That's all I got. That's everything else was a down vote, I think, for me.
Agreed.
Me too.
Well, this
is
Muhammad's
fest on the show.
favorite moment, which is what or whom was your favorite character? Not whom, who. Who was your favorite character, Kat? I know it's tough to decide with these 6 gems.
I told you, the prostitute. That is she.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 7 gems.
She could be the recurring character.
Mm-hmm. Muhammad, did you have a favorite character?
I don't know how much is from this episode or just from memories from before, but I'd have to say Bull, just because, again, I very much remember him as funny, and he was okay in this one. So I think that's what's making it stick out to me.
Yeah, I think for me, it was definitely not Harry. And if I based it just off this first episode, I would probably have said Bull. But I do remember that John Larroquette is an excellent actor and comedic actor. He was able to really make things funny. So he was my favorite character just because I remember him being good. I'm like, come on, you can do it. Be funny, John. You can do it. Do something funny. But yeah, John Larroquette and Bull, Dan Fielding and Bull were, because the others were, like I said, they all had like a homogenous delivery. They're all kind of just the same. And the one poor lady had to do that weird turnaround that made no sense. And I was just like, I don't even need to get used to you guys. You guys can be gone within a season.
I guess the only, sorry, Muhammad.
No, please.
I was just going to say, the only thing in terms of like a physical gag that worked for me was I don't know if she was she the district attorney or was she the one?
The legal aid attorney.
The legal aid attorney when she came back from the bathroom fight and she was limping because her one shoe was off. That made me internally go, okay, that's kind of cute.
What a low bar we have set where we're like, well, she was missing a shoe. I guess that's something.
felt kind of bad for her. So,
Mohammed, what was your biggest eye roll moment?
Because I don't know. I think that last scene. I just didn't get it. I was so confused. Like, what happened to her? Like, why is Lana all of a sudden so positive when she was so critical? It just seemed completely out of the blue. So I think that was probably my biggest eye roll.
What about you, Kat? Let me guess. Kat's biggest eye. Yeah, maybe the end. Maybe the end for Kat.
actually, I will say the biggest eye roll for me was the entire thing.
Wow.
It was one 23-minute eye roll. Like, was it a very slow eye roll, like a sunset,
Yes.
or was it just like those googly eyes where the eyes were just rolling in perpetuity?
like a sunset.
Okay.
So, Kat, is this going to be like your least favorite show of all the ones you've done for Watch the First?
Oh,
1,000%.
Wow.
That is a high percentage.
I don't remember what your previous scores were, so I mean it may not be that. You may have always scored above a 6 before too. So
well, everybody at home, these are the shows for which Kat has joined us. Let's rattle them off, but we won't say her score.
It won't be the lowest for me. I know that. There was one worse.
Can I ask which one?
That was oh shoot, what was the name of it? What's the name of it? The one that's like the Silverhawks.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Worse than this?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to know a secret? I want to tell you, but what if Mike sees this?
Probably will.
I'll just maybe. I got him a Silverhawks shirt for Christmas because it was so terrible.
That's pretty funny.
So, Mike, earmuffs. If you see this, go back in time about 30 seconds and plug your ears, please. I got him a Silverhawks t-shirt for Christmas. And I need him to wear it. So Kat joined us for Star Wars Resistance on Disney Plus. That was episode number 35. She has joined us for Devs, episode WTF 38. She also joined us for Robotech on Amazon. That was WTF 45. So everybody at home, check all those out. She also joined us for Seinfeld. Ooh, she was a little mean to Robotech. How dare you?
I was.
And this is worse too.
Wow, we are delving in. We are rolling in the deep.
I didn't know.
And Kat did Seinfeld. That was WTF number 57 with us. What else? You've also joined us for WTF episode number 71. That was Masters of the Universe Revelation. What else do we have? Show. Yeah. We didn't judge it too harshly. She also did Altered Carbon with us on Netflix. That was WTF 82. Let's keep it moving. We've got a few more. WTF numbers 96, Hot in Cleveland. This is like memory lane here. She also did WTF 105, Stargate Atlantis. And she's okay with that one. Let's see, what else? Is that it? That might be it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And this is still the bottom? You've heard the list?
Absolutely.
Wow.
We are going to have to adjust our scores for her. But anyway, that was a great segue to talk a little bit more about you, Kat Geren. How are you? It's been a while. What's new? Any acting gigs? Are you still writing and producing things? What's new?
Yeah, I'm still writing and producing. This year has been pretty heavy in that, in terms of I'm still meeting with production companies and networks to bring my series to air, which is really exciting. I'm also in an agreement to bring my horror thriller, it's going to get made. I'm in an option agreement on it. So with a very exciting, huge horror company that everyone knows that I can't wait to spill the beans on.
Wow.
And I'm going to be starring in it as one of the leads. And it's based on like a really highly popular Reddit no sleep short story called the Whistler series. And that subforum has like over 20 million active viewers, and it was voted the number one story of that forum of all time. So it already has a really huge fan base built in. It's all about going into a haunted forest where there's a really ominous whistling noise that you can't see any creatures. There's nothing there except for the sound. So it's in the vein of A Quiet Place and Bird Box, but the catch is that the whistling knows your worst fears and secrets, so it comes out at different times for different people. So some people hear it, at one time, and what another person hears it at another time. So it's kind of the fight between, is this real, or is this only real because we think it's real? And then people start to go crazy.
Do you have to now rewrite this script to adjust to the new knowledge that your worst fear is this show, Night Court, where your character is going to hear Harry's bad jokes?
I would go crazy. That's great inspiration. I will use that.
Oh my gosh.
I will use that on set. So I'm so excited. Next year is going to be really, really exciting. I think my projects are going to be made and they're going to be on screen. It's going to be a really exciting next year.
You're very busy, but IMDb also mentions that you're taking some classes on the side, like screenwriting and stuff too.
Yes. I went back to school. I love higher education. Both my parents were teachers, so I'm a big advocate just for education in general. My brother is a teacher. Someday I would like to go back to school and get my master's degree and hopefully become a professor someday. But that's like in the way near future. I would absolutely love to do that. But yeah, I thought I was a good screenwriter before going back to school. I think I had natural talent and I was good, but being taught, the craft of it and being able to study it and study screenplays and study the art of telling a story and understanding that there is a formula that, scripts happen in a 3-act structure and you need an inciting incident and you need these things, not because a script has to go by these guidelines, but because every story that's told is in this, it's told in a 3-act structure. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. And so I think for anyone that wants to, be good at their craft, they should study it. So I really advocate for that. I also met some amazing people. I think film school is a great opportunity for networking. One of my actual deals was because my teacher recommended me to a Universal executive that he knows. Wow. And I got to pitch to her and, so it's like, you never know who you're going to meet. Do really good work and, things
make
happen.
Great connections. I just wanted to ask you, follow up on that. When you're sitting in class, don't you get so inspired and so many ideas to where you're like, I can't wait till this class ends so I can start writing more? I remember sitting in all of my screenwriting classes. It just like gets all your juices flowing and you're like, oh, that's right. I never thought about that. What if I had a trickster character? What if I had a Judas character? What? And you get all these things flowing in your mind, right?
Totally. And I think it's also like people can do that if they can't go back to school, like get into a writing group, where other people are reading your work and you're reading other people's work, because you'll read stuff and you'll go, oh, that's really interesting how you did that. I could do that, but kind of in mine, or thinking how to make others' scripts better actually helps you make yours better. So I think like reading them out loud with other writer friends is, if you can't go back to school, it's like just as great.
That's great. What's been the single biggest surprise that you got from a class or something like that?
Getting a deal with a Universal executive.
Something that was actually taught, not an outside connection, but something that was that somebody brought up in class, and you're like, oh my God, I never thought of that.
I just think seeing, because every writer has like a voice, you know, and they go in and do their work, and they kind of tell the same story but in different ways. I think like every filmmaker is kind of famous for that. Like there's a tone to all of Christopher Nolan's films. You know, he loves the kind of like science-based films, but also that really kind of ask questions, existential questions, right? So there's always kind of like a theme to every great director and filmmaker in terms of their voice. And so it's so amazing hearing other people's voices, because it's like, you know, I remember one of my classmates like specifically wrote film noir, and I never will write film noir or even thought about writing film noir, but it was so fascinating to see other people just as excited about genres that I would never think of. And it's really inspiring that there's so many voices out there that you kind of forget about when you're honed in on just your own.
That's awesome. That's very inspirational too. I love that.
Yeah. Even though now I'm not in school.
Okay, you've got a lot on your plate.
All that
totally
stuff.
Fair.
I have just one more question to follow up on this. I don't know why we're so Well, I know why Dr. Noor here is fascinated with college courses, but in film school. But you said you would consider being a professor someday. If you any specific course you would like to teach or profess?
Be a duke. You want to be a duke,
right? Right? Absolutely. Probably for screenwriting. I would love to teach at, you know, if I stay in California, USC or UCLA, or actually got recruited by Columbia, you know, Columbia University. That would be an honor to teach at Columbia. But that's it's a lot of schooling that I still have to tackle to get there. But someday, hopefully, that can happen. I would love to give back and mentor anyone interested in the, you know, writing field, specifically screenwriting. I was thinking that after my screenplays sell and I'm done with production and filming and everything next year, I might start consulting. So, you know, to see if people were interested in kind of, hey, you know, I'm kind of a beginner screenwriter and I have no idea what to do. Because people have asked me, you know, just friends of friends. And like, I would love to. Like, I don't know about you, Mohammed, but isn't it just like the greatest gift to be able to share your knowledge?
100% yes. 100%.
And he's got a lot of knowledge to share. All right.
So I don't know how that segued, but into like an inspirational TED Talk. But
that's what we always do.
Where can people follow you? Yeah. I was gonna say, where can people follow you online?
People can follow me online on Instagram. I just recently changed my little @ name to Rin Geren, RIN__Geren. I'm contemplating on going by Rin instead of Cat because my family hates Cat. They're always telling me we don't like Cat. They call me Katie. My family calls me Kate or Katie. But I feel like that's so little girl, like Katie, you know.
What about Kathy?
No.
I know. I could tell you.
Oh, man, that was a strong reaction.
Wow, there are a lot of variations there.
We'll see.
So there's Catherine, Kathy, Kat, Kate, Katie, Ren. That's like 6 variants.
I know. Off of just
what about
names.
Thur? You know, whatever. Anyway, okay. Mohammed knows. He's already way ahead of me. It's time for the karate chop. It's the terrible twos.
Bottom line. See, this is the line. Bottom line.
Oh, is that what that is? It's the bottom line. Okay, it's the final 2 questions of the show. You know, the 2 most important questions. So we ask them every single week, and everybody's thinking, well, if they're the 2 most important questions, why do you end with them? So anyway, question number 1 is, Dr. Mohammed Noor of Duke University fame, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this first episode of Night Court?
So I was starting around the 4.5 area, but after our discussion, Kat made a lot of really good points too about the elements of the story and how things were put in there. So it's dragged me down a little bit further. I'm not going to go all the way down to Silverhawks because it actually, at least it did have a plot. So I think I'm going to go with a 3.5 is my final score.
All right.
3.5 out of 10, not out of 5. Out of 10.
Of you. That's sweet. What about you, Kat? Scale of 1 to 10?
I think I'm going to rate it 0.0000001.
Can we do zeros? Because it says scale 1 to 10. I don't know if we can do 0.
Oh yeah, good point.
Okay.
We can do 1.0000.
Okay, Professor.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's true. Like we're kind of
0 then.
We're kind of forcing people to give 1s when they want to give a 0.
Yeah.
So maybe we should adjust. We should consider adjusting one of these days to on a scale of 0 to 10.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because then a 5 is not the midway point between 1 and 10. A 5.5 would be the middle between 1 and 10. So this is skewed. This is skewed to help these shows out. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No, this is a good point here. You are teaching us already.
Redeeming at all? Just challenging a little bit. There's nothing redeeming at all. 1.0.
Yeah, we're gonna have to think about that. That's a good point.
Okay, Mohammed, you convinced. Because of the prostitute, I'll give it 1 point. Can I do 1.01?
Yep.
Totally fair.
Okay, 1.01.
Wow. If at this rate, within like 4 or 5 hours, we'll have her up to a 4. If we keep, it'll be as slow as her eye roll. Like it'll continue to climb bit by bit. If we just keep like needling her. She's so
sorry
nice
to impress you.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, for me, I shouldn't have started so high. I'm very biased. I was like, all right, gonna watch the first episode of Night Court. This is fun. This is exciting. Oh, it's a 7. Okay, maybe it's a 6. Oh boy, is this a 5? Geez. Oh, this is a 4 point. And they just kept going down. But then I settled at a 3.8 because I'm a giver, you guys. I'm a giver. I do feel
with a high score.
Very biased though. Like, well, because I was so surprised by it. I kept like saying, God, is this actually a 5? And then it kept going. I'm like, man, feels like maybe it's a 4.5. And then it just kept getting lower and lower. But I feel as though if I'd never seen it, didn't know anything about it, went totally at a clean slate, I'd be closer to Kat's number than Muhammad's number. I'd probably be at like a 1.5. But I can't erase that. Oh God, I need to stop talking myself out of this. 3.8. Otherwise, I'm going to go lower. I always try to just stick with what I initially
felt. There's a high score now, though.
But it really should be about a 1.5 or 2, honestly.
Why don't you split the difference a little more? Make it more
because I have to just stick with what my initial impression was. Otherwise, like a couple weeks ago too, like I wanted to go lower, but I was like, nope, I got to stick with my initial number and be stubborn, even though I don't have to. We make our own rules. So I don't know. But yeah, it should be like a 1.5 or 2, but I'm only human.
You've had several weeks now where you've been the high scorer too, Ryan. I should just point that out.
Not in a row.
Not in a row, but just on average.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Anyway, I like to laugh. So sue me. All right.
I would like to say that was the closest to guessing, I think.
Yeah. I think that's true.
Mm-hmm. Everybody else was off.
Yeah, we way overestimated.
We all thought we would be the only one to poop on it, but the other person would think it was like a 5 or 6. That's what we all thought. All right. Question number 2. For the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of Night Court. But now that the podcast is over and we're free to move about the internet as Kat sips on her mug, what are you drinking?
This tea that tastes like coffee.
Yum.
Hashtag not sponsored, but if Ticino wants to sponsor me.
Oh,
yum. Now that we're free to move about the internet, Dr. Muhammad Noor, would you, of your own volition, watch the second episode?
Based on the first, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, knowing what I know outside that, yes, but based on the first, which is I think what we're doing here, absolutely not.
Sounds like a maybe. Kat, what about you on a sorry, would you watch the second episode of your own volition?
Yeah, I would.
Is she acting?
I was about to say, whoa.
Talk about a turnaround at the end.
Yeah.
Like that character. Like
Man,
Lana.
Longer, except Mohammed's face was so funny.
It's usually funny.
No, absolutely not. Nope. Couldn't pay me. Well, maybe you could pay me.
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody paid me, I would totally do it.
Yeah. No surprise there. For me, knowing that it does get better, but not knowing when. So if I just watch this in a vacuum, it's an all caps hell no. Knowing what I know now, it's still a very strong no, because there's no way the juice is not worth the squeeze here. There's no way I'm going to sit through 6 bad seasons or even 1 bad season to get to the good stuff. I mean, I might go and watch season 8 if I want to see something good, but I feel like even this first episode soured me to that, where I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm not going to seem annoying. I'm not going to watch any future episode. I'm fine.
Poor show. Poor show. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's only mostly your fault, not completely. Anyway.
Absolutely not.
Let's get out of here. This show was terrible. Not our podcast, though.
Not the podcast. I was thinking, I hope you're not talking about that.
So everybody at home, that is the end of 80s sitcom month. What's next month? I think it's like Variety Hour. What anything can happen. Who knows? So if you'd like us to review a show, in the comments below, type WTF and the show, like WTF Wings or WTF
Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And that stands for Watch the First, of course. And let us know where we can stream it. So you would say WTF Wings, parenthetically Peacock, and WTF Deep Space Nine, parenthetically Paramount Plus, right? Plus. So that's it. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining us. It's been so much fun. And Dr. Noor, oh no, we don't go to that part yet. What I'm trying to say is this podcast was like 4 to 7 times more fun than that episode of Night Court.
Oh my God, way more than that.
But it was longer.
Yeah, that's true. This podcast was a super fun poop fest.
Wow.
This podcast reminded me why I love going on this show.
Aww. I'd like to change my answer. This podcast reminded me why we love having Kat on our show. Or Rin, if you're watching this next year. Anyway, everybody, please remember, please remember what Michael Kenyon Rosenberg always likes to say.
Don't forget to be an organ donor, and don't forget to watch the first of things.
All right, everybody, freeze frame like your favorite character.
That shitty smile and pretend that